Hello and welcome to Global Azure 2021 and my session. Today I will show you how to manage Azure resources with Visual Studio Code without using Azure Portal and deploy and debug applications running on Azure services. My name is Mert. I am working as a software architect at Finexus. I am trying to be a regular contributor to MS-Auto, Cloud Launch and Learn, Azure Live, and Cloud Family, and also traffic communities. I am not a big fan of slides, so I have 3 slides today, and this is the second one. Let me change the scene before we start. Okay, let's start with extensions. As you can see, I have lots of extensions installed. And let's have a look at how many extensions can we use for Azure. And I'll filter it with Azure category, and I'll search for extensions from Microsoft. Okay, there are lots of extensions, but the good news is you don't need to install them one by one. There are some extension packs. For example, Azure Tools, it will install 11 different extensions like Azure App Service, Functions, Azure Storage, Azure Virtual Machines, and also we have Azure IoT Tools. It has 3 extensions. And yes, and there is an extension pack called Azure Serverless, and it has 5 different extensions. Also, you'll need to install Docker and Kubernetes extensions, by the way. Okay, let's have a look at our installed extensions. I have installed most of them, and now they are trying to connect my Azure account. Okay, let's close them all. Okay, let's start with basics, and I'm going to create a virtual machine, and I'll select virtual machines, right click my subscription. There are 2 different options. First one is create virtual machine, and other one is advanced. The main difference one, advanced one asks more questions than the basic one. Let's start with the basic. Okay, asking for a virtual machine name. Let's say Mert VM. Passphrase. Okay, asking for a location, and I'll select West Europe. And now it's creating. You have already noticed that it didn't ask me about its image or operating system. The default one is Linux, and you can track the progress from here. You can see the details. And now let's try to create the advanced one. Yeah, advanced. Now it's asking for my operating system. This time I'll select Windows, and I have some image options. Let's select Windows 10. Username Azure user, admin passwords. Application. Now it is creating. Let's wait a couple of seconds to finish my Mert VM virtual machine. Okay, we have 2 steps left. Okay, now it's creating the virtual machine. Okay, my VM is ready. And I right click it. You can see I can connect it with SSH, copy its IP address, add SSH key. I can stop, restart, or delete virtual machine. Let's try to connect it. Okay, it opened another instance of Visual Studio Code. And now it's opening a remote SSH session and ask me for a operating system. And it is Linux. And fingerprint, okay. And asking for a passphrase. Now it's connecting. And you will need another extension for making SSH connections. Okay, now we are connecting. Let's make it bigger. Okay, I'll open terminal. Now we are in the virtual machine and I'll update my virtual machine. And after the update operation, I am going to install nginx. Okay. Okay, I think it is installed. Let's close this VS Code instance. And I will copy my IP address, open my browser, paste it. Okay, our nginx server is up and running now. Okay, this time I'll show you how to delete my virtual machine. Before that, let's have a look the other options for the Windows one. There are no remote connection options, but the other options is same. If you click delete, you can also delete the other resources created when you create the virtual machine, like this. Okay, asking for a confirmation, and I say yes. Now it's deleting. Okay, now let's try something different now. Source, and I will create an directory. Let's say web, and okay, let's try difference. Okay, now I'm going to create a new MVC application. Okay, I don't need HTTPS stuff right now. Okay, now I'm going to open another instance. And let's close this one. Okay, let's open terminal. And let's see if it is okay. Let's run. It's now building. Okay. Yes. Let's try it. Okay. This is our demo application. Okay, I'll press Ctrl Shift P, and I'm going to deploy my web app to Azure Web Service, and I'll select this option. Okay, it's asking me my source codes folder, and there is some configuration is missing. I'm adding to my config. Okay, again, there are two different options. First one is create new web app, and other one is advanced one. I'll select basic one. Let's say web app. So it exists. Okay. And runtime is .NET 5. You can select different runtimes regarding to your application. Select free tier. Okay, now it's creating application inside resource. And my web app is creating. Okay. Now it's running pre-deploy task. and it will deploy my application to newly created Azure application service. While it's deploying, I am going to get my extension. And it refresh. Okay, now it's deploying. Let's remove the older one. Okay. Okay, I can configure my application settings. I can create a database here. I can see my deployments, my files. You can also change basic configuration and upload it again. Also, you can see logs and deployment slots or your web jobs here. Let's have a look if it's working, and I'll select browse website. Okay, as you can see, our website is up and running on Azure Web Service, and I'll try to debug my application and select start remote debugging. It won't work, but I want to show you the error message. Right now, Azure remote debugging is only supported for Node.js running on Linux, so we cannot debug our application because it is .NET 5. So let's try something different. Okay, I'll press Ctrl+Shift+P again and add a Docker file. Asking for an application platform is ASP.NET Core. I'll select Linux as my operating system. 5000 is my port. I don't need any Docker compose file right now. Okay, my Docker file is ready. Okay, now I'm going to build my image, but I will do it on Azure. And there is no Docker desktop running on my machine right now. And I have a registry. And going to my code, right click and build image in Azure. Okay, asking me name, and I will take it to version 1 and select my registry, image base OS Linux. Let's close this. Okay, it will take a bit of time. So I want to add a Kubernetes deployment file while my container image is creating. A new file and say Okay, first we need an service, or let's start with deployment. Okay, web, and port is 5000, and I'm going to write my image name, Azure CRIO web version 1. Okay, now let's get a service. Okay, web, let's go with this. Okay, port is 80 and target port is 5000, and I would it type is load balancer. Okay, now I have a deployment file also. Okay, it's still creating blob. And it might take a couple of minutes regarding to your connection. Okay, now it's running. And different thing from the other extensions is you can see your registry not in here. You can see it on Docker extension. And let's refresh it again. Okay, our container image is ready. Also, you can pull all the data repository here, and I can deploy my image to Azure App Service or a container instance. But now I am going to use it on my Azure Kubernetes service. Okay, as it will take a couple of minutes to create an AKS, I already created an AKS cluster, and you can edit with add existing cluster, or you can create a new cluster from here. And when you run okay, when you run as AKS get credential command, you can it's also set to kubeconfig, and you can see your cluster here. Let's clean it. Okay, you can see your namespaces, nodes, workloads, network, and other Kubernetes options here. And let's try to run kubectl get all command. By the way, I have a alias defined for kubectl SK. Okay, now we are connected. Now I am going to deploy my application to my Kubernetes cluster. Okay. Okay, it's created. Let's run again. Okay, I have an external IP. Let's try to see if it's working. And while it's trying to open, let's look at our nodes. Okay, I can see my web application here. And also there are lots of options you can use. You can attach your Visual Studio Code, you can debug it, you can open a terminal, you can see logs or get a description. Okay, now our application is running on my AKS. And this time I am going to set a breakpoint and try to debug my application. Controller home. Let's put it on privacy and index. Okay. And again, I am going to press Ctrl+Shift+P and select this option, bridge to Kubernetes configuration. And with this extension, I'll redirect requests to my machine. Okay, I am going to select my service and I'll use port 80 or use a different port. Okay, it's asking for a launch configuration and I'm going to select .NET Core Launch. Okay, you can isolate your local version or get all the requests directly to your machine. And if you want to isolate your requests, it use a header propagation and only redirect requests from this subdomain. And this time I am not going to filter it and select no. Okay, launch configuration is done, and I will select debug And there is a new option, .NET Core Launch with Kubernetes as selected, and click Run. Now it's redirecting AKS web application to my machine. Okay, it requires to update your host file, and I'll say okay. Okay, it found my container and connection established. Okay, let's go back to privacy. Now I'm connected, and as you can see, it hit my breakpoint, and now I can debug my application running on my AKS cluster. Let's stop this right now. Okay. And there are lots of extensions you can use for manage your resources on Azure. And as a developer, you don't need to use Azure portal. You can do your management or debugging operations from VS Code. Okay, let's switch back to my presentation. Let me change my. Hope you enjoyed the session. Please install all these Azure extensions and try them to find which is best for you. Don't forget to scan the QR code on the screen to claim your attendee badge. I'll be here for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, please submit them in the chat or reach me out later on Twitter or LinkedIn. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope to see you again on another session. Cheers.